Anthony Hancock, Sid James, Kenneth Williams and Hattie Jakes in Yes, Minister Hancock.
Good morning, Minister. Here's your mail.
Thanks very much, Miss Truss. And be good as to leave my fan mail on the tea tray.
Oh dear, I'm afraid there isn't any fan mail, Minister. Will you be needing me any more, Minister?
Must be a postal strike, eh? No, thank you, Miss Truss, that will be all. Right, let's have a look at the mail. Rishi Sunak, bin that. Hammond, bin. Braverman, bin. What's this? Sid James, Crumbly Concrete Limited. Dear Honourable Tony Hancock, I have just discovered a new wonder concrete that lets you put buildings up 10 times faster and costs 10 times less. How intriguing.
Certainly, Minister.
Enter. Sid James, Crumbly Concrete Limited at your service, Minister. Yes, I'm glad you could come, Mr. James. Your letter, very interesting. Do come in and sit down.
Tea, Mr. James?
2 sugars, tar love, and milk in first, and a couple of oat crumbles if you've got them.
Will that be all, Mr. Hancock?
Oh yes, thank you, Teresa. Right, we can talk more openly now, Mr. James. You look like a working man to me, a man after my own heart. You're spot on there, Your Honour. In which case can I possibly interest you in this carrier bag full of 50s? It was meant for King Charles, but he didn't have room for any more. Steady on, Mr. James. You wouldn't be trying to bribe me, would you? Of course not. Don't use the B word, Mr. Hancock. No, not at all. It hadn't crossed my mind. Do I look dishonest? Come to mention it. But that's not for me to say, Mr. James. No, of course I'm not. Go on then, make it 20s in future. Coots Bank is getting suspicious. I'm not Nigel Farage, you know. Of course you ain't, Minister. We did a Dutch barn a while back for old Farage. How interesting. And him a staunch Brexiteer. Aside, what's your relationship with King Charles? We're currently tendering for the contract to build a granny flat at Buckingham Palace. Granny flat, eh? But surely the Queen's dead, Mr. James. Not for the Queen, for Camilla, of course. She's knocking on and keeps falling down the great staircase after a couple of G&Ts. See, good idea, Mr. James. I hope you get the contract. Now, what is the purpose of your visit to the hallowed Houses of Parliament? Living in the past, Minister. It's not hallowed anymore, is it? It's in a bit of a 2 and 8, if you ask my opinion. My company, Sid James Crumbly Concrete Limited, is after the contract to rebuild the Houses of Parliament and make them look a bit more upmarket. We're not in Europe anymore, we're in Asia. You've got to be a heck of a lot smarter. Well, it could do with brightening up a bit, I suppose. I didn't think it needed rebuilding. A word on the grapevine is that most of it is about the collapse. So, you're offering to rebuild it, but using what? Crumbly concrete, of course. Crumbly concrete, eh? It sounds nice enough to eat, doesn't it? You can't eat it, Mr. Hancock. Your teeth will fall out. Quite, but doesn't crumbly concrete, well, crumble? Not a bit of it. It's a rumour put about by the gutter press. It's as solid as a rock. Well, I suppose that's a good start, but how much is it going to cost, Mr. James? Name a figure, Minister. Well, I don't know off the top of my head. How long is a piece of string? 100 million. And double it. 200 million then. And to round it off nicely, add a naught on the end. 2 billion? I do love a bit of haggling. I accept your offer, Home Secretary. Here's another carrier bag. My assistant architects will come and measure up next week. And I say to the House, it is absolutely essential that you give the go-ahead for the rebuilding of the House of Commons. Surely we can't afford it, Home Secretary. On the contrary, we cannot afford not to have it. Well, how much is it going to cost, Home Secretary? Cost? Cost? How can you talk about cost when you're considering the mother of all parliaments? Well, I suppose so. Oh, what is the so-called new Houses of Parliament going to be made of? Sealing wax and string, I suppose. Well, the honourable member can be assured that whatever it will be made of, it is not going to be made of tartan. We will, of course, be using the latest technological innovation, AI crumbly concrete.
How did Prime Minister's questions go, Mr. Hancock?
They went very well, Liz. I once again demonstrated clearly that the opposition oiks need to gin up before they face Anthony Aloysius St. John Hancock. Yes, indeed, Liz, we shall be building the new House of Commons forthwith. Let them try and stop us. We will fight them on the beaches.
Yes, Minister. In that case, I'll show Mr. Artex in, shall I?
Yes, Miss Truss. Let's get a wriggle on, shall we?
Good afternoon.
Yes, so you're Mr. Artex of St. James Crumbly Concrete Limited.
Yes, I'm Mr. James's trusted partner. Well, he's always saying he can trust me to cock things up anyway. Just sit back and relax so I can take a few measurements.
What are you doing, Mr. Artex?
I'm just measuring you up.
What, for a coffin?
It's very funny. No, not yet.
I thought you'd be measuring the House of Commons, not me.
We've got to be sure our safety equipment fits you. It's better to be safe than sorry, isn't it?
Why do I need safety equipment? Crumbly concrete isn't dangerous, is it?
No, crumbly concrete isn't dangerous, Minister. It's nothing to worry about. You could be buried in our safety equipment for months. And you wouldn't mind because you'd be all cosy and toasty inside.
Yes, of course, I understand, Mr. Artex. But how long will it take to build the new House of Commons?
Well, you've got no worries there, have you? Our new crumbly concrete is very fast and efficient on account of it being naturally loose and friable. It will probably take about 10 weeks maximum.
Friable? That's another word for crumbly, isn't it? Are you sure it'll only be 10 weeks? You know how big the House of Commons is, don't you?
No, of course I don't. I haven't measured it yet, have I? I'm too busy measuring you.
Have you got all the measurements you need now, Mr. Artex?
Yes, I've been a busy little bee and I've calculated we're going to need 43 billion cubic feet of crumbly concrete.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Well, it's about average. That's why we source our crumbly concrete in North Korea. It's the best.
Korea, eh? Are you sure? They're not usually known for having the best of anything, are they?
We don't know. I'm not a politician. Korea is where it's made. We haven't got any.
I was under the impression, Mr. Artex, that Sid's Crumbly Concrete Limited had their own supply.
If only we could, but it's difficult to make. It's a special process. Anyway, Sid said to tell you, we will need 100 million up front to buy the concrete. It's supply and demand.
I just can't conjure up 100 million, Mr. Artex. There's forms in triplicate to fill in, procedures, rules, committees to go through.
Well, how much you got on you then?
I don't usually carry that sort of money around with me, Mr. Artex.
What about in here then? Isn't that a safe?
I've probably got 1 million in the Home Office safe and a few gold bars. And this watch. It's a Rolex worn by Boris the day he resigned. Very valuable.
Ooh, that's nice. I'll wear the watch, thank you. Mr. James to see you, Minister.
Hello again, Minister. Hello, Mr. James. Have you come to start work? I would have done, but I'm afraid we've run up against a problem. Problem? What problem? Nothing that the Home Office can't fix, I can assure you. You met our Mr. Artex, didn't you? Well, the scallywag trying to run off with your million smackers. And the gold bars. And the watch. I don't know nothing about gold bars and watches, Minister. It doesn't matter. He can't be in any more trouble than he really is. We've had to give him a pair of concrete overshoes. I hope that meets with your approval. What are concrete overshoes with her at home? Are they like Crocs? Nothing like Crocs. You see, we've had to put his feet in concrete, and we're going to chuck him in the Thames. You can't do that. I don't want my name associated with that sort of thing. It will be the end of my ministerial career. Too late, Minister. We've done it. He's standing on the bottom of the Thames, just outside your window as we speak. This is dastardly. Oh, look, there he is. I can see the bubbles. Have you got the morning papers, Miss Truss? Is there anything, how can I say, macabre news in it?
I don't know about macabre, Mr. Hancock, but there is a very strange story about a man who was fished out of the Thames yesterday.
Dear, dead, was he?
Oh, Minister, very much alive. The funny thing is he said someone put his feet in concrete before throwing him in, but it just crumbled and he broke free. It was something called crumbly concrete, apparently. He says he's going to turn King's evidence, whatever that means.
Right. Could you take some dictation, Miss Truss? Dear Prime Minister, I would like humbly to tender my resignation.